miracles, some people do not. I am giving you the information as it is presented to us, and so that is my disclaimer here. So, recording this, but today, let's talk about Moses. So, of course, the whole story of Moses, it's in Egypt. Well, not the entire story for Moses, but what we're focusing on right now is in Egypt. We know that Abraham took his family to Canaan. And in Canaan, they prospered, and it was wonderful. But then a famine came. Does anyone know what the term famine means? All right, Dee Dee.
It means like not a lot of food or water or supplies.
Exactly, not a lot of food or water. Give yourself another medal to put on that wall. So there's this great famine going on through the Mediterranean world. And so the people of Canaan, they were running out of food, and they went down to Egypt to buy some food. And conveniently for our Israelites, see, there's this whole story about 12 brothers that we didn't get into, but one of the brothers was sold into slavery, taken down to Egypt, then wound up being very successful, very prosperous, then wrongly accused, thrown in jail, then winds up elevating himself to Grand Vizier for the Pharaoh. I mean, right-hand man for the Pharaoh. And, you know, his name was Joseph. And so, in this time, the famine's going on. Joseph is their Grand Vizier. The brothers come saying, hey, can we buy some food? And, of course, he's super happy to see his brothers, but he can't show it right away. And he's got to have this whole thing because actually only 10 of his brothers went down. And they wanted the other brother to come because of that same mother. Anyways, long story short, Joseph says, hey, guys, bad famine. Come live in Egypt with me. We've got plenty of food stored up. We were ready for this. The whole vision with cows being really skinny and then like eating really fat cows. It's kind of cool. But the Israelites, they go to Egypt. And we believe that they lived there, for between 400 and 800 years. And during this time, they are going and prospering. They are going, having lots of food. And when you have lots of food, we've seen populations, you have lots of babies. And babies mean more people, and then more people, and more people, and more people. And so what happens is the Egyptians start saying, hey, there's a lot of Hebrews up there. What if they outnumber us? So Pharaoh Avery does the only thing he seems reasonable to do and says, all right, we're going to enslave you guys. Jesus, that's so mean, man. But the Hebrews, they get enslaved. And for about 400 years, we know that they were made slaves until they still keep on growing and growing. So eventually the Pharaoh says, all right, here's what we're going to do. All the boys under this age, just kill them. All right. And so they were going to kill all of the babies. Very, very sad. Now, one mama had just had a baby. He was such a cute boy, little Moses, and says, I don't want my baby to die. So puts him in a basket, floats him down the Nile, as the Torah says, and then winds up being found by the princess. And the princess is like, I always wanted a baby. And then raises the baby as her own, as a prince in Egypt. And there's actually a movie called Prince of Egypt, which is pretty good. But eventually, this prince, a.k.a. Moses, goes and sees how the Pharaoh and the Egyptians are mistreating his Hebrew brothers because he knows that actually he is a Hebrew. And one time, this taskmaster is being like really, really mean to a Hebrew, and he pushes him. I can't remember if he pushes him or strikes him or whatever, but he kills the Egyptian. So now Moses is a murderer and a fugitive, so he flees Egypt. And we've got a bunch of stories that we're not going to get into right there, but eventually, as the story goes in the Torah, he's called back to Egypt to go say, hey, Pharaoh, let my people go. Seems perfectly reasonable, saying, hey, we want to go. And then the Pharaoh, of course, says, I'm not getting rid of my free workforce. They do lots of jobs for me. So he says, no. And then, like I said, according to the Torah, we have then 10 plagues. So we have these miraculous things happening. Now, I am not going to quizzy-poo you on what these plagues are, so you don't have to write this part down. But just for funsies, so you know, little things like, turning the Nile River to blood, or having locusts descending on the land and eating everything, or probably what, in my opinion, might be one of the worst, swarms of gnats everywhere. Gnats are like some of the most annoying bugs in the universe, and just having swarms and swarms and swarms of them everywhere. You know, lots of frogs, just hail coming down, all sorts of terrible, nasty things happening. But all of these, Moses, after each one goes, says, hey, let my people go. And the Pharaoh says, not going to happen. Once or twice he says, oh, yeah, sure, you can totally go. And then changes his mind right away until we get to the 10th plague, the final plague, the death of the firstborn. And this is actually where we get the story of Passover, which is a Jewish holiday commemorating the Exodus, the leaving of Egypt. And what happened in the story is that basically the Hebrews had to go have a lamb, and that they would go and kill the lamb and put the blood over their door, and then they were passed over. They wouldn't go and have their firstborn die. But the Egyptians, of course, did not do this, and they wound up going and having their firstborn die. Pharaoh comes in, says, hey, you can go now. Of course, then Pharaoh changes his mind again. So all the Hebrews are leaving. They got their carts. They're going. They're rocking and rolling out of here. And then the Pharaoh and the army pursue. And this is where we have another miracle in there in the story of the Torah. Yes, Mariah?
Can I say what it is?
Sure.
Moses parts the Red Sea.
Moses parts the Red Sea. Yes. So, like I said, it's up to you and your family if you're going to choose to go with the miracles. But as the story goes, the Red Sea is parted. Moses holds out his arm, holding his staff in the air. And then the Hebrews go and cross it on dry land. But then, of course, the Pharaoh and the chariots, they're approaching. They're getting closer. The arms drop down, and then they get washed away. This whole event is called the Exodus. Now, I'm not going to go and quiz or test you on any of the miracles or anything like that, but you must 100% know the Exodus, where we have the Israelites going and leaving Egypt. So, the Hebrews escaping from Egypt is called the Exodus, and you must know it. All right? Got to know that one. So here is some art of that. Ooh, we didn't have cameras back then, so we don't have any photographic evidence. Now here are two hilarious jokes which go with it perfectly. Moses is fishing. That's Moses. I love it because the guy can't fish because it's dry land where he is. But my absolute favorite one, because it takes me so long to do my hair, of course, is Moses parts his hair. We're being okay, no one laughed, so that's F minuses for everyone. Madeline Kate is trying to laugh now, so now she has a negative 17%, as well as Mariah's fake laugh. That'd be negative 5,000%. We're just going to give all the points to you, Aiden. Are you cool with that? Because I'm sure you were laughing. Because I know you like funny things. So Aiden gets all of the points for the class. There's more with Moses, though. So we see the first contribution of Moses, of course, would be going and leading the Exodus. Mariah, that was very naughty of your brother. I can't believe he'd strike you. Terrible. Tell your mommy. Now, we're going to see, then, we have just finished the book of Exodus because they've left Egypt, and now we're going to go to Numbers, where they wander around. And during this time, well, actually in Exodus, they get it too, the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20. But so they're given the 10 Commandments after they leave Egypt on top of Mount Sinai. There's a hilarious movie clip that we'll show you in a minute, whether it's, Now, they get the 10 Commandments. Now, these 10 Commandments are going to be the foundation of the Jewish laws, principles. All right. Things included in the 10 Commandments. I'm not going to test you on what is in the 10 Commandments, but you need to know the basic idea to honor and obey God. Such things as hey, don't steal, don't kill, listen to your mommy and daddy. It also had religious things hey, don't have other gods. The whole covenant is that you are my people and I am your God. Finally, they thought about, geez, people work so hard. Let's go have the Sabbath, a day of rest where you can just rest and worship. So that's the gist of our 10 Commandments here. So when we're talking about Moses, you need to remember that Moses has two main contributions for the Israelites. He is going to not only lead the Exodus, so get them out of Egypt, but is going to give them the 10 Commandments. Like I said, we're going to watch a quick movie clip. It's hilarious. So there's this movie that's very, very funny that your parents might know called History of the World Part 1. And in it, Moses comes down from the mountain and he's like, these 15, drops it, these 10 commandments. So let's quickly just enjoy this movie clip because it's fun.
Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me. Oh, hear me. All pay heed. The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 15. 10 commandments for all to obey.
I love that movie. It's very, very funny. Hopefully you enjoyed that quick little clip. Once again, not so many Haley's laughing. So, okay, we're going to give 1,000 points to Haley and to Danielle. And, yeah, Madeline Kate, you're now at like negative 5 million points. Okay. So, poor MK. First she's a robot. Now she just has a very bad grade. All right. So, here is the 10 commandments in total. No, every year kids are like, hey, are those the real 10 commandments? No, they're not the real 10 commandments. First off, the Bible hadn't been divided up into chapters and verses yet, so no. Secondly, Roman numerals had not been invented yet. No. Thirdly, English did not exist yet. No. Fourthly, we don't know what happened to the 10 commandments or where they are. Although there is this church in Ethiopia, because actually it's very interesting. Judaism and is very popular in Ethiopia. But there's this Christian church actually, and that says that they have the 10 commandments and the Ark of the Covenant. But of course, like if you go read in the book of Leviticus, it talks about all of these like rules about how like you can't like just go in there anytime because holy of holy like face and all sorts of stuff because it's very powerful, and so that like they can't like bring a camera crew in it. So there's one place that says they have them, which is interesting. Maybe Rylan can dress up like a ninja one day and like infiltrate it and like check it out. Yes, Aaron, sir.
What would happen if you disobeyed one of those commandments?
Well, so that would be the idea of sin, breaking the commandments, and so within the Hebrew or Judaism, so there's this whole idea of how they're offering an atonement for it, but basically the gist is that people would do their best to follow them, and I mean, some of them are pretty easy to follow, like don't kill. Now I know some of you with siblings might be like, I'm going to have a hard time not killing my sibling, but, don't do it. Don't steal.
Okay.
Later on in Christianity, we'll see the idea that even thinking about it would be this is bad, but then the idea of atonement for sin. But we're not going to get too much into that. But it's not like you break a commandment and then, like, you fall down a pit. All right. Yes, Haley.
But what if our siblings stole from us first?
Still not right, Haley. Be the better sibling. But totally tell mama. Okay, so your assignment for today is Chapter 6, Lesson 2, The Israelite Kingdom, Part 1. All right. So that's what we need to work on there. Avery, if you can hang out for a second. But I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm going to say, get started on that Chapter 6, Lesson 1.